Hello, my friends from around the world. I am Coach Lucy, and welcome to another episode of theflyingarcher.com, which is sponsored by New England School of Archery and Supplies, LLC. We have an amazing guest for you today, John Stubbs. Hey, John.
Hello, Lucy. How are you?
I am doing good. And John Stubbs, originally from Bowden Vale, and he is currently residing in Warrington, England. He is a Great Britain Paralympic archer, and John has been a member of the Archery Great Britain Squad since 1998. And at the Beijing Paralympics, John set 2 Paralympic records and won the gold medal. John is also a world and European champion, and he was awarded the member of the British Empire in 2006. We have a lot to discuss, and please welcome from the United Kingdom, John Stubbs.
Hello, pleased to meet you.
Hey, John, I gave a brief overview and bio. John, sit back, relax, take a minute or two and tell us a little bit about your background on how you got into archery.
Okay, I got into archery purely by chance more than anything. At the time,
Really?
at the time I was actually playing disabled cricket, and I was actually the disabled England cricket captain. And it got to the stage where I was sort of talking about cricket more than I was playing cricket. So I needed to get myself a hobby.
Yep.
So I went along to a local disabled sports club, trying to find a hobby that might float my boat, and nothing was hitting the mark. And I was just about to go, and I just sort of peered through these French doors, and lo and behold, there was archery taking place, and I thought, I'll just sit and watch, see what happens. And then the coach that was leading the coaching session, if you like, he saw me peering through the window, and he beckoned me out, and I'm like, yeah, I'll have a go. I'd done it as a child, but I was always the cowboy and never the Indian. And I know that's not politically correct, but obviously it was cowboys and Indians. So, you know,
Yeah.
so if I ever shot a bow, I let go of the wrong part, and I never thought, that it was ever going to be a sport for me. So when I was given this opportunity as an adult to try the sport, I just thought I'm going to seize this with both hands, and
Hmm.
and I just picked up the bow, and it was just like it was meant to be. So, and then that was the start of this great journey that I've now been on since that day. To be honest.
Mm. I had the same feeling when I picked up the bow for the first time as an adult.
Yeah.
It was like, wow,
Yeah.
this is just, I wasn't very good,
No.
but there's just something that was just pretty awesomeness about it.
Yeah. But obviously the way it is in Britain, obviously if you go into the sport, you first of all you go onto a beginner's course, and it's like a 6 week induction,
Hmm.
and obviously you're taught the basics, you're taught the etiquette in archery, and then obviously you go from the plastic jelly bows up to the basic takedown recurve bows. And for me, I took straight to the sport straight away. After my 6 weeks, I went and bought my first recurve bow, and I started competing sort of domestically. Then within the first couple of months, I was actually on the county team, and I'm like, wow, is it so easy sort of thing? And a friend of mine was actually also representing the county, but he was shooting a compound bow, and he was also in a wheelchair. And he said to me, "How about you give this bow a go?" So I picked up his bow and I shot his compound, and that was it. Then I was just hooked, and then obviously ever since then, it's been compound all the way for me.
So I would assume your favorite bow is compound.
Most definitely, yeah. I have shot all different. I've shot all the different types of discipline bows in Britain, but yeah, I've been shooting internationally as a compound archer since 1998. And to be perfectly honest with you, I've shot all different makes of compound bows. So I've got quite a wealth of experience on all the different types of compound bows that I've had in my hands, to be honest.
I want to quickly talk about the award that you were awarded.
Yeah.
Want to talk about it?
Yeah, if you like. I was given the MBE in 2006. Now, you've got to appreciate this was way before, compound archery was ever going to be a part of a Paralympic sport.
Now say what MBE is, because not everybody knows.
An MBE is the member of the British Empire. So, and obviously that was bestowed to me in the Queen's 80th birthday honours list. But unfortunately, when I went to receive my award, it was Prince Charles, that gave me the award. And don't get me wrong, to meet any royalty is an honour and a privilege. But it was given to me for services to disabled sport. And at that time, yes, I was 2005 world champion, or world compound champion, if you like.
Yeah.
But it wasn't actually given to me for my services to archery. It was services to disabled sport. So obviously that's all my connection with all the sports that I've been involved in. But obviously for cricket, and then obviously going to represent my country in disabled archery.
So what was it like being in the palace?
I was stuck for worse, to be perfectly honest with you. I was there. I was with lords, ladies, dames. Everybody was there that was going to be receiving honours way above what I was receiving, and I was just sat there and I was just taking in the surroundings, and you can imagine the palace is massive, and I was just looking at a painting on the wall. Now, bearing in mind, I'm a disabled person, I'm a wheelchair user, so I couldn't go and get there was refreshments being given out, and I couldn't go and get my own refreshments. So,
oh no!
Yeah, so I was assigned like a butler, and this butler was getting me my drinks, bringing them to me, and I was looking at this painting, and he's like, "Do you realise what you're looking at there, sir?" And I'm like, "No, it's a very nice painting." And he went, "That is a Rembrandt, that." And I went, "Oh, okay."
Oh, wow.
Now, this Rembrandt painting, no word of a lie, it must have been about 8 foot tall and by 20 feet wide. Now, I think if off the top of my head, Buckingham Palace is something like 450 odd rooms. And the butler said to me, "This Rembrandt picture is worth more than Buckingham Palace is worth." And that sort of put it in perspective then.
That's when you almost drop your drink,
Yes. Yes. And it was like, and wherever you looked throughout the palace was pictures, paintings and stuff. And I'm like, wow.
Wow.
But this is all national treasure, this. And obviously we don't appreciate in Britain what we actually have in the royalty. And we should be proud that we have actually got royals, if you like. And we just take them for granted, But ever since that day, I've been really respectful of the royalty.
Well, you don't. It's like I lived in Washington, D.C. for a couple of years, and I'm not a native of D.C.
No.
But everybody I talk to who was says, "Oh yeah, I've never really explored the monuments and the museums," and I made a point to explore and to really take in the city. Yeah, that happens when you sort of tend to not notice the things just around you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And for me, obviously, going down to London, because I live 200 miles away from London, so that was an experience on its own, because I'd not been to London since I was a child. And obviously, in the time, London obviously has developed to become the great capital that it is, with all the
Yeah.
new, new buildings and whatever. So there was lots to see, but so little time to see it all, to be honest.
Yeah. You'll just have to go back again.
Yes. Well, fortunately, obviously, I met with Lee, and Lee was actually living in Richmond or Kingston upon Thames, which is next, one of the suburbs of London.
Yep.
So we got to go into London quite frequently.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, John, so John and I are going to sit back and talk about archery for a while.
Yeah.
If you're listening while you're driving your car, keep your hands on the wheel, because I'm going to take all the notes for you, and I'll have the notes, links, and resources on my blog, theflyingarcher.com. And so why do you like compound so much?
Well, I come from before my accident, I was actually a fabrication engineer. So,
Okay.
that obviously is a very, it's obviously extremely hands-on. I'm sort of making things with my hands. So to go into compound archery, it was just that, that going forward, it was just that sort of development that my mind strive for within the art of archery.
So you must have lots of gadgets that you like. Do you have a particular one for your bow?
I have got a lot of gadgets on my bow, but I think my most favourite one, it was a recent acquisition, and I don't want to obviously put sort of brand names to it, but
Yep.
it's made by Doinker, and it's their 10 degree down Doinker quick disconnect, and because I'm very particular in the way I set my bows up, my quick disconnect, if you like, enables me to actually, when I set my center shot up on my bow, because the quick disconnect is adjustable, I can then make sure that the arrow runs straight down the center of my long rod. So from that respect, when I'm sort of sighting down the arrow, when I'm drawing up, I know everything is in line.
Yep. Nice.
Yeah.
We'll need a picture of it for if you wish
Yeah.
that I could put on the. Cool. Where have you traveled for competition?
Well, obviously, I've been competing since 1998, and I'm very, very fortunate that I've been to virtually, I have. I've been to every continent in the
Really?
world. Yeah, every single one in the
Wow.
world. My first trip ever abroad was my first World Championships in 1999, and that was to Christchurch, New Zealand. So,
Oh, New Zealand.
yeah.
You
So
didn't end up staying in New Zealand, though.
no, and not. I wish I did, to be honest, because
Oh,
it's typically British.
yeah.
Unfortunately, obviously, they had the earthquake not so many years ago, and a lot of the sites that I saw then are no longer with us now, and that's a
Oh,
crying shame, to be honest.
yeah. No, totally.
So no, I've been to everywhere. I'm extremely fortunate that I've been on this path for such a long time, and it's enabled me to go to some pretty amazing places. I've been to obviously I've been to Beijing. Well, I've been to China. I've been to Thailand. I've been to America. I've been to South America. I've been to Korea. These places that I could have only ever dreamt of before my accident, because it's all these places are extremely expensive to get to, and not just go and visit them. But I've stayed in a lot of these places in sort of 5-star hotels, so it's really been a home from home for me.
So being a para archer has really actually opened doors for you.
Oh, most definitely. When I don't want to go on about my accident, but when I had my accident in 1989, which was a road traffic accident, you can appreciate I was 24 at the time, and I was probably in the prime of my life, and you think doors are being firmly shut behind you, and to find the sport of archery, which has opened so many different doors to so many beautiful and brilliant places, I am extremely fortunate that I did find archery.
You know, it touches my heart because it was in when I was 24, 25, I had an accident,
Yeah,
which I was airlifted, and I'm like, um, and I survived it physically. I ended up having crutches. Could only deal with crutches for about 5 minutes,
yeah,
so I walked really slowly. Um, but I think the mental aspect, I put myself down, and
yes,
I think um, I did go and have therapy, and the therapist didn't do a great job because I didn't have any post-traumatic stress issues. I just got depressed.
yeah.
Um, but I think, I don't know. It's about learning to pick yourself back up, even when no one else can see what's going on the inside.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
for me, because I ruptured both femoral arteries in both my legs. So,
yeah.
I had blood transfusion of 68 pints of blood. So
Wow.
I think myself extremely fortunate that, I survived that initial trauma that my body went through. So
Yeah.
I came out of hospital after like 4 months, and I was so institutionalized being in hospital that I just wanted to get out of there. And then obviously you come out and you've got this not, I've got this newfound disability that I never had to come to terms with before. But you're thrust out into the big wild world, and even though I just wanted to get out there, I just became a bit of a recluse, to be honest,
Hmm.
because I'm an amputee, so I look different than everybody else, and I couldn't be doing with the you know the stares and the glares off people because I look different. And it's only recently that I'm actually coming to terms with this, and I'm actually at this moment in time receiving counselling for a 27-year ago trauma.
Yeah. Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Um, eh, do you find um, are people treat you the same now as they did when the accident happened? Or, I mean, when you came out of the hospital, has the culture changed at all? Have you found?
I think within Britain's so behind America, if you like, because of disability rights and disability access. But don't get me
Hmm.
wrong, we're getting there now. But it's
Yeah.
only within the last sort of 10 years that began to make headways for disabled people. But I can actually remember when I first came out of hospital that if we wanted to go out and socialise, I would be phoning the place that I was going to frequent to see if they had a disabled toilet, if they had, disabled parking, if they had provisions for disabled people. And then if I found that they did, that would become, if you like, my local drinking house, even though
Yeah.
it might be miles away. So yeah, people obviously, you know, society is actually becoming uh, more respectful of disability within Britain,
Hmm.
and I think that's only due down to the the military and the armed services, with obviously the recent conflicts that we've been having.
Yeah. Having more disabled veterans coming back
Yes, definitely.
and needing to accommodate. Um, I'm thinking the Olympic Training Center in the United States, Colorado Springs,
Yeah,
um, is where I saw a lot of the Olympians, or
yeah,
the ones that are resident athletes there, and it was just really amazing to me because there's people with synthetic legs and stuff, walking around in the cafeteria. And it was like we're all one big, like, I'm not going to say family, but, group of people just accepting of each other. And I was like, it should just be like this out, in my town.
Yeah.
Not that it's not accepted, but there's just a different feel.
Yeah.
I can't really explain it unless someone was actually over there. But it was awesome. It was awesome to see. I love going to Olympic Training Center because I see people who are living their dream.
Yeah.
And the atmosphere there is that of, it's not no, you can't. It's, well, okay, continue to push, you can do it.
Yeah. And from obviously what you're saying, I can take that a little bit further because I've been very fortunate that within Britain, I've been able to go away with the aspiring Olympians, go to World Cups, and they've actually then saw or been able to see what I've had to endure to go to these events that these people just take for granted. But
Yeah.
yeah, I go along and nothing's ever too much hassle. I just get on with it and never complain about something because at the end of the day, we're all there and we're only there to do archery. And I feel it a privilege that I'm a disabled archer going to an able-bodied event and competing with the world's elite. So what I've got to complain about, and if I start to complain, is it just going to create more obstacles for more para athletes to actually be given the opportunity that I've been given?
Mm-hmm. That's just, what an amazing experience.
Yeah, but it's not come easy. I've had to break a lot of barriers, stand up for myself, and
Mm-hmm.
challenge the organisations to enable me to do this. And I've gone away not as a token disabled person. I've gone away on merit and competed on
Yep.
merit with the world's elite. And then it's only when you're competing with these guys on a regular basis that you start getting the recognition that disabled people deserve, not on their disability, but their ability to be extremely good athletes in their chosen sport.
Mm-hmm. And to get to become an extremely good athlete, you also, if you're a disabled athlete, probably have had to overcome more obstacles.
Definitely.
I mean, you probably more of, everybody's a champion at that level. And I don't want to say able bodies have less obstacles, maybe different obstacles. Maybe it's harder actually to be an able-bodied athlete because our obstacles may be more internal.
Yes.
And we don't recognize it and we don't deal with it.
I think from an able-bodied athlete, whereas they've got the physical presence, if you like. We as disabled people have got the mental presence because we've had to fight our own adversities or our own disabilities, and once we've overcome them, no matter what archery throws at us, it can't be anything as bad as what our disabilities have thrown at us. So it just gives us coping strategies to deal with any different scenario.
The word that comes to my mind is the hero's journey.
Yes.
And it's like to have to go through the obstacles of whatever uh, injury or disability that you have to overcome that mentally to get to that next level. You've already walked the hero's journey.
Yeah.
What would you competed in the Paralympics in Beijing? What was that like?
For me, obviously, Beijing was just, I never thought it was actually going to happen,
Really?
because it was only in 2006 when, you know, compounds was introduced into the Paralympics, but that was, as you can appreciate, that was 2 years along the Olympic cycle. So then it
Mhm.
was like a fast track for us. And then if if you remember, there was all that hype about, is China going to be ready? Is the Bird's Nest Stadium going to be finished? This new
Yeah.
building, this new iconic building, it's a mega structure. Is it going to be completed? And it was like, oh, let's hope it is, because I'm going to be there. And what because compound bows had just been introduced into the Paralympics, we were not building ourselves up for a fall. Our psychologists were all, just go there and enjoy it. Don't think about the competition. Just go out there and enjoy it for the competition, and and actually having the ability to be there.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I went out there and I enjoyed it. I had a smile on my face all the time that I was competing, all the time that I was going through the qualification round. And lo and behold, at the end of the qualification round, my then coach was a Korean, and he was coming up and he was like, "Do you realise you've obviously just shot a Paralympic record?" And I'm like, "Wow." And obviously
Wow.
that put me in good stead to go forward into the competition.
Uh-huh.
And then obviously head-to-head matches, and you're competing then against one individual, or you're shooting against your fellow archers on a head-to-head basis. And I can actually remember, I was shooting against a gentleman called Eric Bennett, who now shoots recurve for America. He was shooting compound at the time, and he was a better archer than where he actually qualified. And it was just unfortunate for Eric that I was on the mark straight from the start. And
Yeah.
and I think, if I remember rightly, he shot a 115 out of
Mhm.
120 dozen, but it wasn't good enough because I shot a 117 out of 120, and that is actually also a Paralympic record, and it can no longer be beaten. So it's there in the history books, because compounds now no longer shoot at 70 meters as we did then. We now shoot at
Oh.
50. So
Wow.
my records are obviously set in stone. And I was just going along, and
Wow.
going through the competition, and sort of every time I scored a 10, and this is so so not within my character. I was actually doing an air punch, an air punch,
Yep.
so, and obviously the Chinese crowd, which were, to be honest with you, were a renter crowd, if you like, because there was
Yeah.
so many Chinese people around. They were coming in, and they realised that, wow, every time this British guy, he hits a 10, he gives us an air punch. And it just became the norm. And all you could hear was the crowd roaring every time I hit a 10. And I think it got to my opposition, and every time I did it, I'm like, I was drawing all this energy, and it
Huh?
just it just pushed me through the competition. And then lo and behold, I'm in the final, and it's like, wow, you know
Wow. Yeah.
and then going into the final, and I was against my old adversary, which is a
Uh-huh.
gentleman called Alberto Simonelli. And we're waiting in there. It was like the gladiators being led out into the arena, and
Uh-huh.
I'm looking around and I'm soaking in the atmosphere, and I went up to Alberto and I wished him all the best, as you do, just being competitors and obviously friends. And I went to shake his hands, and he was a quivering wreck, and I'm like, wow. And yet I was just up for it, and
Mm.
I just took all the energy of the crowd, and it just drove me forward. It got to the stage where I was actually feeling sorry for Alberto, because the stronger I was getting, the weaker he was becoming.
Mhm.
And it was as though I was drawing all the energy, not only from the crowd, but I was zapping him of all his energy as well. And
Yeah.
then, at the end of it all, I'm Paralympic champion. And it was like, I just can't believe this. And we were just told just to go and enjoy it. Well, it's like, if I can't enjoy this moment, I can never enjoy anything ever again. And it obviously lives with me until this day. It's always going to be there.
Hmm.
And when people say that you've got to be in a place where you were the most comfortablest, I was my most comfortablest shooting in that final in Beijing.
Hmm. I'm just like so there with you.
Yeah,
The such a actually I think really good advice is go and have fun,
yeah,
um, and enjoy the moment.
yeah. And if you can't have fun or enjoy the moment when you're competing in a Paralympic final, well, when can you? It's as simple as that.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, if Alberto at the start of the competition, if you'd have turned around and said to Alberto Simonelli, "You're going to be going away with the silver medal from this event," I think, to be honest, he would have bitten your hand off. So
Yeah.
but obviously that meant obviously that he was first loser, if you like. But
Hmm.
ultimately, how can any medalist in a Paralympics be a loser? Because you can't.
No, I mean, once you're at that level, it's almost too bad that we have to like rank people. Um, well, I don't know. Then you can be so in the zone, so in the moment, like you were, um, on that day, on that
Yeah.
moment.
When you talk about being in the zone and being in the moment, I didn't really, even though I've been competing at international level since '98, and obviously this was 2008, I didn't realise what people actually meant until I was actually in that situation, and I never felt nervous. I was just on it. I just was enjoying it, and I now get what they mean by being in the zone, because I never felt pressure. It was as
Hmm.
though it was just meant to be. And it was one of those days where I feel as though I could have aimed off the target and shot an arrow, and it would still have gone in the middle.
Hmm.
But don't take me, I'm not. Don't take me lightly. It was sort of 10 years in the making of since compound bows have been introduced in 2006. It was a dedication. It was a commitment to a lifestyle. And it was,
Oh, there's.
yeah, and it was, I used to go out. I used to socialize. I used to drink beer and all that. And at sort of a 2006, and when my bow type was introduced into the Paralympics, that's when I became a changed person. I
Hmm.
started living like an adult, like an elite athlete. I stopped drinking. I started competing and training, but there was a purpose to it. And obviously, that purpose was driving me forward to get to Beijing.
Hmm. It's the decision, a desire, and the daily habits that you do that accumulate over time,
Yeah.
and so, a lot of self-discipline. Um,
You know, I'm expected, obviously, as an elite athlete, Archery GB, and obviously the lottery that fund me, expect me to conduct myself as an elite athlete. So obviously, we get sort of daily arrow expectations, what we need to, and how many we need to train. And, and
mhm.
and before I got to the sort of caliber that I'm now at, I would have to train 6 days a week, shooting 300 arrows a day.
Yeah.
But now I'm training more purposefully. So now obviously we've curtailed that to obviously still 6 days a week, but to 150 arrows. But 150 arrows where it's 100% commitment, and it's about the quality and not necessarily the quantity. So over the duration of my lifespan, I've been trying to work out how many arrows I must have shot. I'd like to think it must be in excess of probably 1 million arrows.
Wow. No, that makes sense. That's a lot of arrows.
It is.
That's a lot of pulling of string.
It is, yeah. But don't get me wrong, I've been extremely fortunate that I've had I've had personal sponsors. I've got the national lottery, which enabled me to get some funding, which enables me to live as an elite athlete. But ultimately, I've had families and friends that have been most supportive of me, not necessarily being on the competition field or being there, but just when I'm away, keeping a watchful eye on my house, my family, and doing things that I should be doing, but I'm never around to do these things.
Yep. And that is so important.
Definitely.
Yeah. What is the craziest weather day you've shot in? Well, one of them. You probably have many.
I've shot in some pretty horrendous weather. I can actually remember sort of 2005. This is when I became world champion, and it was in Massa Carrara in Italy. And it was like, surely they're going to abandon the shoot. We can't be expected to shoot in this weather. And it got to the stage where we were shooting 70 meters, and the targets in the distance, there was that much rain that it was just like the colours were a blur. But obviously they had a schedule, a television schedule that they had to stick to. So we had to go out and shoot. And I can actually remember my first arrow, and it was a 6, and I'm like, oh no, can't believe this. In a final, I've shot a 6, and once again, believe it or not, the same person that I was up against was Alberto Simonelli. It's just just a coincidence, and I think he shot an 8, and I'm thinking, well, I'm still in with this. So obviously, I made my adjustments to my sight, and then I was back in the middle, and obviously, but it was accumulation scoring. So it was like, I'm not out of this yet. And then it was just a case of still plugging away and plugging away. And I can actually remember my last 3 arrows, bearing in mind it was still chucking it down. I actually put 3 in the X ring at 70 meters. And I think I took a deficit from something like a 3-point deficit into, and then I eventually I won the competition by 2 points.
Oh.
But to shoot 3 X's on my last end, it was like people were saying, "Where did that come from?" And I'm like, "I don't know." But I've obviously shot in really bad weathers, and I've shot in some pretty testing conditions, not only in Europe but in America also. Arizona Cup, for instance, we've been sat on the shooting line, and because obviously we're generally near the DOS stand, which is director of shooting, we're sort of within that area, but the target line is something like 75 bosses long, so we're sat at sort of target 30, and lo and behold, all the archers start removing themselves from the shooting line, and then we're like, why are people moving when the buzzer's gone to start shooting? And we sort of hear in the distance somebody shouting, but you couldn't decide for what they were saying. And we're like, what's he saying? And we're like, we don't know, we can't. And it was only then that somebody ran out to us that were under shelter, and there was a swarm of killer bees on its way over to us.
Oh
And
my
we're like,
God.
oh my God. And we're totally oblivious to this because we don't expect this in Britain. But obviously, to come into America, it's like,
The,
oh, you got to be prepared for everything.
wow. Well, at least, wow, we don't have that in this part of the country.
No.
I'm in Concord, New Hampshire,
Oh, okay, right, yeah,
which is in the northeast corner
yeah,
of. Wow.
yeah. But
I'd be moving pretty quickly with the swarm of killer bees coming at me.
yes. But we've had everything thrown at us, and it's not all been bad. Don't get me wrong, but some of these events they stick in your mind because
Mhm.
you've never had to deal with these issues before, and it just seems a coincidence that it's been Arizona Cup or whatever, to go to a disabled toilet and actually be confronted by rattlesnakes. It's like,
It's just
really?
wrong.
It's like, is this the norm? So
That's one reason why I don't live down south, I
yeah,
think. I was at the Olympic Training Center in Chula Vista, California, and we were coming from the classroom. I think it was when I was doing the level 3, level 4 transitional course for coaching, and it was slightly dark out, and I hear this rattle, and I moved pretty quickly. Once we got into the cafeteria, one of the guys told me that I stepped over a rattlesnake.
ouch. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And they have signs there that say something like, these bushes is the rattlesnake habitat.
yeah,
It's their home.
yeah,
Stay out.
yeah,
Kind of like if you go in and they bite you, well, you deserve it.
yes,
But I I heard that we do have rattlesnakes up here,
right.
but they're a endangered species, and I've never seen one, or
No.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's why in Britain we're quite fortunate that we do have poisonous snakes, but they're not as prevalent as what obviously they are in America.
Well, that's because it rains all the time.
Yes, definitely.
They
Yes.
can't sunbathe. What great archery books have you read?
I'm not a great reader of books. I think when I first started archery, I read the Basic Compound or something like that, it was called. But I know that I did get one book, and I was sort of bullied into getting it, and primarily it was because it was written by a former British Olympic archer called Simon Needham. It was called uh, The Art of Repetition, and
Hmm.
it's archery in its simplest form, and it's written in such a way that it's just for the layman to understand, and probably that's why I like it.
I understand. There's some books out there that are just so technical. It's like, uh,
Yeah,
I needed another book to help describe this book.
yeah. But don't get me wrong. Archery GB in their wisdom actually got Lanny Batcham over, and he
Hmm.
actually did uh, a coaching seminar of which the British athletes were invited to go along. So yeah, we all got a copy of his book, and I've probably got a signed copy of obviously it's in winning whatever it's called, the
It's a winning in
winning
mind.
in
No,
mind. That was right.
is that what
Yes,
it's called? Yeah,
yes.
with winning in mind.
With
Yeah,
winning in mind. That's right. Yeah. So yeah, I've probably got a copy of that book somewhere knocking about.
that book, as I'm talking to different archers and coaches around the world, seems to be a common one among most everybody.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, if your equipment breaks, what strategies do you have?
Well, it's an Archery GB trait that effectively you've got to have duplicate equipment, and
Hmm.
because I'm a bit of a tinkerer, and obviously that's why I shoot compound because it
You
enables.
probably have more than 2 backups, right? You probably have like 6 bows with you.
Yeah, I've got about 8 bows in my garage.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to come play with your bows. Are you right-handed or
I am
left-handed?
right-handed, yeah, but
Oh, me too.
50 to 60 pound compounds, so yeah, and the maxed out at 60 pounds. No, but I've had to deal with some testing conditions and come up with the solutions to the state where I was out in, and this is probably one of the warmest countries I've ever shot in, and it
Mhm.
was the Czech Republic, and it was like 43 degrees, and
Hold on, that's Celsius, right?
that's Celsius, yes.
Okay, so
So
that's quite warm.
that's quite
That's like
warm, yeah.
100 hot. Okay.
Yeah, and at the time I was using a 3D rover drop away, spring loaded drop away rest, and it
Mhm.
got to the stage where I was shooting and the rest was seizing up. So we were having to ice the rest in between ends.
It's just
Yeah, so I'd shoot my spare bow and then we'd ice that bow, and then I would shoot my number one bow and then ice that bow. And that's just the way the competition went on. So as you can imagine, I came back from that event and changed the type of rest that I was shooting.
oh my God. Usually people are getting iced and
Yeah, I
not.
know, and I was icing my equipment. Yeah, but
You know how to take care of your equipment. I love it.
you've got to think on your feet, or
Yep.
in my case, foot.
What do you do to help yourself stay in the moment when there's distractions?
Usually, believe it or not, I'm probably one of the distractions. I'm very much the joker on the line. I find archery, it's I find it's got to be a social sport, especially when you're competing with people in such close presence to yourself. And
You know, I just dropped by a competition the other day and I'm watching everybody. I could only stay for like 5 minutes
yeah,
because I had a class I was running, and everyone was so serious and
oh,
quiet.
hate that.
I'm like, guys,
Yeah,
so lucky I'm not here competing.
yeah. I,
Okay, go on.
I'm usually the person that is cracking the jokes in between arrows, and people are you can see that it's getting to them because obviously you can see that they're laughing in the shoulders, and the shoulders are going up and down, and then lo and lo and behold, I'm winning the event, and it's like, no, not because I've been cracking the jokes, it's just because I'm in a more relaxed state.
Yeah.
So no, I like the distractions, to be honest.
So it's more like that's actually how to get yourself focused is just to feel good,
Yes, definitely. You know,
and have some fun.
yeah, and
And
I think as elite athletes, I think we've actually forgotten why we do the sport, and ultimately, if you're not enjoying it, why are you doing it?
mhm,
And when you're enjoying something, do you not do it better? Then if you're not enjoying it and you feel as though you have to be there, you just get on this rebellious stage if to say, why am I doing it? Whereas
yeah,
when it's all going well, you just want to do it even more. So it's about getting into a happy place.
that is just so true. And such a life lesson for just about anything we do.
Definitely. And I think this is why, if you want to aspire to become somebody, why not aspire to become or have as a role model a disabled athlete? Because at the end of the day, they've got over all their issues that have got, or why they've become a disabled athlete, and then you're actually seeing them living the life of an elite athlete at the top of their sport for being in that sport that they've chosen. But it's all the trials and tribulations that they've had to overcome that's enabled them to get there in the first place.
Mm.
People have said to me, who are your who's your sporting icon? And for me, I think it would, if I was to put a name to somebody, it'd probably be Michael Johnson or someone like that. A fantastic, sprinter, but he was so unorthodox. but you would never change him. You know, if you looked at the style of which he ran, it was like so unorthodox. How could he run the way he does? Yet he was going out week on week, year on year, and breaking world and Olympic records, and yet it was so unfashionable, you know, unfashionable the way he ran. And I
Yep.
think this is just it in sport. There is no hard and fast way of actually doing something you've become good at. It's all about, like I said earlier in the book that I read, it's all about that, just repeating the same technique over and over and over again. And why not pick a disabled athlete that you can aspire to become?
That is powerful.
It's not
I
meant that
mean,
way, but
but I didn't, the way I meant it, probably powerful is the wrong word. Probably empowering, is to find somebody who, as you just said, a disabled athlete, um, and because they've had to overcome, as you had just said,
yeah,
to be able to get to the level of elite in their field.
yeah.
And as I was just reading something the other day, is, you know, the fine is, this is outside of the sports arena, but if there's someone in business that, you know, if you want to get really good at business or whatever, find somebody who has been extremely successful in business.
Hmm.
Now, business doesn't have to be, you know, the owner of a big company. It could be like a president
Yeah,
or, you know, some leader, somebody who has done it. When you go back and learn about them, they've had to overcome a lot and probably continue going towards their goal even when people laughed at them and said they can't, they won't be able to.
yeah.
Um, well, I want to tell our listeners I just took half a page of notes. And do you have a Twitter, Instagram, or a website? I know you have a
I
Facebook.
just have a Facebook. I'm a bit of a rebel when it comes to anything like that, and I know I should use Twitter and all social media, but
Hmm.
social media has got me in trouble in the past. So I tend
You got to be careful with jokes on social media because
yes,
people take it the wrong way.
yes, definitely. So this is why I steer clear of using social media. And in fact, to be honest with you, I do have an athlete page, but I put very little input into that. It's primarily managed by Lee, to be honest.
So cool. At least you have someone to manage it for you.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, because I wouldn't have the
she's
time.
awesome.
Yes,
I
thank you.
enjoyed talking with her
Yeah,
too. So your Facebook is John Stubbs Para Archer,
it is, yes.
and what actually got you into archery?
What got me into archery?
Yeah.
Uh, just as rehab to my disability.
Hmm.
It was it's I didn't purposely go into a sport knowing that I could compete with able-bodied people on a level playing field. I just wanted something that I could do individually. So for me, it was just a form of rehab, and then enabling me just to focus on my own well-being and getting well, to be honest. And
Hmm.
it was that has driven me forward to become the athlete and person I've now grown up to become.
So you really found it to be a healing
Oh,
modium?
definitely, yeah. When I'm competing or when I'm training, it's as though it's a complete release. I've got to be in the moment of that training and focusing on that, and just to forget about whatever's going on in my home life, my family life, or whatever. It's just a great form of escapism, and you need that. Everybody needs to find something that they can just go and escape from reality, and I found that in archery.
rather than with alcohol or drugs or
Yes,
food.
definitely. Yeah. Well, to become an elite athlete, you've obviously I don't drink. Obviously, I eat healthily, and I obviously drink whatever whatever nutrition and hydration that the body needs. It's no substances or goes into my body. Because I'm an elite athlete, I've got to be truthful to me, my sport, and obviously the people that support me, knowing that I'm doing my sport at the level and it's just 100% me
Hmm.
and no additives, if you like.
You also must feel pretty good too.
Yeah,
I mean, to eat that well and to be taking care of your body, um, yeah, has some nice side effects. You feel good.
yes, yes, definitely. Yeah, I can't remember what it's like to wake up with a hangover, because I don't drink, and
Yep.
I do eat healthily, and I drink, whatever, I am a bit of a Diet Coke fiend, to be honest, and
Hmm.
my nutritionalist would frown upon me if I was saying this, but if anything, that's my only one vice is my Diet Coke, and after all, there could be something worse than Diet Coke.
Did you know that you can wash? Actually, when I was in the Coast Guard, I would wash my oily coveralls with Coke.
Yeah, yeah. But you can imagine if it's doing that to your your oil skins that you were wearing, surely it's only flushing my internal organs out as well. So
Oh, good. It's good for you.
yeah, so they've got to be all nice and clean inside.
Yeah.
That's just taking a positive from a negative.
Oh, absolutely. I'm totally here with, you know. So how does the food you eat on the day of a shoot impact your thinking and shooting abilities?
I am very much a traditionally Englishman. For me, it's got to be a hearty breakfast in the morning. And it will be sort of a fry up, but generally that's my one sort of meal of the day until I get to
Wait,
dinner.
what's it called?
It's called a fry up, so that's like
What's
bacon, sausage, egg, mushrooms, hash browns, tomato, and then obviously with bread and the healthy
Oh,
option would be, you
that
know,
sounds really good.
would the healthy part of that is the fruit juice, you know, So yeah, I do have my one of my three a day if you like, but that
So
would
you and Lee eat very
oh
differently.
definitely yeah. So what does that tell you? I've been a lot more successful than Lee has. But I would graze
Is
throughout the
she
day.
listening?
She is listening, yeah. A mouse just hit the floor.
Lee, did you want to comment on that?
No, she's away.
Okay.
She's just unbelievable what I've just said.
She walked away with that, yeah.
So no, I do sort of graze throughout a competition,
Hmm.
and you're not you're not going to believe this. It would comprise of probably a couple bottles of Diet Coke. These are like the 500 ml bottles, a bottle of water. Uh,
But the Coke has got like the sugar, the caffeine, it's dehydrating you.
yeah, I know that, but it tastes nice. I would then have some nuts. I'm not into dried fruit, so it would be most likely it would be cashew nuts or something like that. Then I would either have flapjack or I would even have, I don't know whether you get them in America, Jaffa cakes.
Not sure what that is.
So it's like a sponge biscuit, but on the top is some like marmalade jam covered in chocolate.
Oh my God.
Yes. So I would have a packet of those throughout the competition as well. But then in between that, I would be having coffee as well. I can't go without my coffee. So it sounds so unhealthy, but
Oh,
it just works for me.
it was so wouldn't work for my body. That is just so cool.
You know, I know it's wrong and it's probably not the thing you're expecting me to say, but you know, this is just the way it is, and that's, you know, I'm not going to change a habit of a lifetime.
Oh, it's really fascinating because interviewing different elite athletes from around the world, yeah, you're not surprising now.
No,
It's our bodies are chemistry and
yes,
we react to things differently. Like for you, yeah, you can drink how many cups of coffee and then a couple of Cokes
yeah,
plus some water and you're good.
yeah,
Um, Someone else would have to do complete different,
yeah,
which I think Lee is actually very different than you.
yeah.
I don't think you guys could pack for each other
No, but
food
you
wise.
know, you've got to remember, obviously, we do archery. It's not
Yeah.
all about being the fastest, the fittest. At the end of the day, it's all about being the calmest. So if I can drink loads of caffeine and
You
that
can
makes me
drink loads
really
of caffeine
calm,
and be calm.
yeah, exactly.
That's just so weird.
Yeah.
If I had loads of caffeine, I'd be doing sprints backwards.
Maybe we need to say this to Ben Johnson or Michael Johnson even.
What what were your earlier challenges in archery?
My for me, because obviously I got into it at such an early stage in my disability, if you like.
Hmm.
It was educating the society, the archery world about people's disabilities, and for me, it was all about making sure that the events catered for us disabled people, and and just like now, we were obviously in the minority, but you know, to have to go to a shoot and then to not be able to go to the toilet for the duration of the competition, or
Oh,
you know, you were pitching a tent and that tent became your urinal and stuff like that. People don't appreciate what it is to you know what it's like to be able to just to walk to the toilet. You know, it's taken for granted, yet for disabled people in the you know in when I first started, that was never the luxury. So that was
yeah.
one of my biggest challenges was raising the awareness of disabled people's needs.
Hmm.
And now it's a given that you know it's not even questioned now if a disabled person is going to need an accessible toilet. You know, so but
That's really important basic needs
yes, definitely. You know, and I could
that
have
that we just don't think about.
yeah, I could have said anything, you know, but you
Uh-huh.
know, it was for me, and if you like that, I'd like to have that as one of my legacies for for my sport. That I'm whenever I decide to retire, that I've left the sport of archery in a better state than when I found it.
Hmm. And you're getting there, right?
I'm getting there, yeah, slowly but surely. You know, we're making headway into organisations and raising awareness, and by para athletes going to able-bodied events, it's now it's not taken as an afterthought or what we're going to do. It's a primary thought, you
Hmm.
know, because at the end of the day, an able-bodied person can use a wheelchair accessible toilet, but it can't be done the other way around.
Wow. I'm thinking I think I won't use those. I like them in airports because you
Yeah,
get all your
definitely.
luggage.
Yeah.
Um,
You know, the amount of times that I've been waiting for the disabled loo, and yet somebody's walked out there that's able-bodied, and I'm like, yeah, I understand why you're doing it. I wish you hadn't, but I do get it why you're using the disabled toilet because it is bigger, and you know, at the end of the day, it's generally a lot cleaner.
yes. What is the craziest thing that's happened to you while you've been shooting?
One thing that comes to mind, and I probably shouldn't say this, but once
Oh,
again,
cool.
it was we were at the Crown Plaza at the Arizona Cup, and we as the British team had arrived at our hotel, and obviously we got divvied out all the rooms, and as you can appreciate, in a hotel, usually if it's so many story, if say room 101 was the disabled room, well, room 201 will be the disabled room. So it's every story, 01 would be the disabled room. Well, I think, speaking, off the top of my mind, I was allocated room 401 in the Crown Plaza in Arizona, in Phoenix. And we'd all decided that we would meet up after we'd dropped our luggage off in our room and go downstairs and have a bite to eat and then head back to our rooms and get some sleep. So we'd all met up having our dinner, and then it was time to go back to bed, and I went to my room and I was met by two police officers stood outside my door, not allowing me to go into my room. And it was like, can we just get the hotel manager, sir? And I'm like, well, first of all, it was like, is this your room? And I went, yeah. I need to gain access. No, 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 we can't go anywhere, sir. Is it, we need to wait for the hotel manager to come and let you in. And I'm like,
You're
right.
on the 4th floor,
Fourth floor,
furthest away
furthest away, yeah. And
from.
I go into my room, and the first thing that these two police officers do is go to where my bed headboard is against the wall, and they were starting looking at this wall, and lo and behold, they found two holes in the wall that, as you can appreciate, would have been on the headboard, because the two
Yeah.
headboards were adjacent to each other, and
Uh-huh.
the only divide was the wall. Well, unfortunately, this couple in the room next to me obviously had decided that they were going to commit suicide. So the husband killed the wife, and then the husband shot himself. And obviously,
Had that just happened?
this had just happened. Yep,
Oh my God.
yeah. So I had to get all my stuff together and get rehoused in another room in the hotel. But as I'm doing that, I'm going through
Wow.
reception, and the
Uh-huh.
manager's office is a complete glass walled office. And obviously the family of these two people that have just died are actually being consoled in the manager's office. And I'm
Oh
like,
my God.
yeah, we just couldn't believe what was going on. But with that, my my team manager had gone out to get a vehicle that we were going to use for the
Mm-hmm.
duration of the trip. Well, it was like a long wheelbase white van.
Yep.
Yeah. So he's driving into the car park of the hotel, and he gets stopped by the police at the door, and the police are shepherding this van around to the back exit of the hotel, and they actually thought that he was the what's the terminology? They thought that he was the meat wagon to
Yep.
come to collect the bodies, and it was actually our team van. So he got embroiled into it, and I got embroiled to it, and it was just like a standing joke then for the next few years. That obviously Stubbsy realised Stubbsy was next door to him, and obviously Stubbsy's snoring, so they decided that they were going to kill each other.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so that's probably one of the weirdest things that's ever
That
happened.
that is like one of the weirdest stories I've heard. Oh, well, when you're shooting and you're on the archery range, what are you thinking about?
Not a lot usually. I think, just thinking about the moment. It's all for me. I am very much an archer that I compete, well, I train on sort of feel, and
Hmm.
I've honed my shooting technique so much that I like to shoot sort of the perfect shot, the execution. So
Yep.
I just need to be sort of focusing on that. So I'm generally not thinking about a lot, to be honest. I'm just trying to feel my shot more than anything.
So you shoot from sitting, right?
I do, yes.
How do you utilize your back muscles more when you from a sitting position?
Well, because we have a obviously we have a physiotherapist and we have a strength and conditioning guy. Because we as wheelchair users, we overdevelop the front, if you like, so our pec muscles. So, when it comes to the shooting aspect of it, it's it's quite alien to us because it's all so much front developed. So
Yep.
you generally find that a lot of wheelchair archers will actually shoot off their biceps, and they can probably hold it on their biceps and triceps, but they'll fatigue very quickly.
Oh yeah.
But because of obviously over the years that I've been shooting, and because I've always been shooting off back tension, and obviously playing cricket and throwing a cricket ball and stuff like that, I'm very developed on my back muscles.
Hmm.
So it's just for me, it's just, I'm quite well balanced, and I've actually been sort of praised by my physio about how well in tune my body is, considering I'm a wheelchair user.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, I've tried shooting from sitting, and because I shoot from standing, um, I have the stability of my legs to keep so I can sort of move my upper body and engage my lower lats and stuff. So from sitting, it's like, oh,
yeah,
I have to use some other muscles because I don't have the foundation. I don't know if foundation is the right word. The stability that the legs create when you're utilizing them correctly.
yeah.
So,
But you see, before in between my accident, or from my accident, I then went into wheelchair design, and
oh,
I actually now compete from one of the wheelchairs that I designed for myself.
oh,
So
nice.
so effectively, I made the best ergodynamic chair for me.
Hmm.
So I actually sit in a chair that the seat angles down, so your bottom is below your knees, and there's 3 inches of difference, and we call that in the wheelchair trade bucket.
Hmm.
So, and by creating this bucket, it gives you good posture, and by having then good posture, enables you to activate your trunk.
Yep.
So effectively, my chair becomes part of me.
Oh, okay.
So I then use the backrest, or the side posts of my backrest are like, not that I lean against that, but because it hugs me so much, it's just as though it's all part of me. So I
Hmm.
can gain more strength from a wheelchair than I would if I was just standing.
Okay, that makes sense. Oh, and that's powerful.
Yeah. But I can't comment, obviously, about ever shooting standing because I was never in that fortunate position. I wish I had a
Mhm.
been, but clearly, I only found archery after my accident.
Yeah. Do you have any mental tricks to keep yourself focused?
I used to be very, very critical of myself, and if I ever shot a bad arrow, everybody could see it. Absolutely everybody. So you know, to the extent where I'd be smacking my long rod on the floor or whatever,
Oh my
taking
God.
yeah, taking my frustration out on my kit, blaming something. It was never me, it was all my equipment, and I'd be
Yeah.
moving things, and then it was just like a light bulb, somebody switching a light bulb on, and I just
Mm.
tried to sort of reverse psychology, reverse psych,
Reverse
yeah,
psychology, I
psychology
think.
myself, yeah.
Yeah.
And rather than beat myself up, I started laughing at myself when I shot a bad arrow. And I
Yeah.
realised when I laughed at myself, it never went on any further. It was that one arrow, and that was it. It was done with. And then I just realised that the body can actually deal with humour better than it can deal with adversity. And now, if I ever shoot a bad arrow, I just laugh, but I do it publicly and I let everybody see. And unless they know what I'm laughing at, they just don't get it. you know, and and it
Oh,
and it
that's just
and it
wonderful.
yeah, it just works for me.
Uh-huh. At least the competitors around the world probably have gotten to know you a little bit.
Yes, definitely. Normally, there's a lot of people just hanging around me, waiting to see what will happen next. There's always a lot of photographers hanging around me. I know Dean quite well, so he's normally got
Uh-huh.
he's got one camera trained on everybody else and one on me.
Do you have any mental tricks to offer other archers?
Uh, just do I do, just rather than criticize yourself, just laugh at yourself. And if you can get into that mindset of not carrying that adversity on to the next shot and just enjoying it and remembering why you're doing it, and it's all about enjoying it. You'll learn, and you'll be soon become a better person for it, and with that you'll become a better athlete.
Better athlete for laughing through it.
Yeah, because behind your back everybody else is laughing at you, and if so why not join in and laugh with them?
Yes.
you know but at the end,
And
if you can then put them all in the 10, well, you're laughing at them then,
I
because
think about this. How could you apply this to stuff outside of archery?
I'm learning that. you know, like like I said, I've had 27 years of sort of turmoil that I'm coming to terms with,
Yeah.
and it's only recently been explained to me why I'm super critical of myself. So I'm just learning those traits within myself, to be honest. But I'm going to continue on in the same vein, that I'm going to be, laughing at myself and realizing that I can't do things that I used to be able to. And rather than being stubborn and asking for help, and asking for it earlier rather than later, and not getting beat up. And it's all about acknowledgement, and realizing that we all have our failings. And it's just recognizing that more than anything.
Is failings really the right word?
Uh, yeah, I think so. I think, at the end of the day, we all fail in something, but if we can learn from it, it becomes, uh, how can I put it? It becomes a a learning trait. You're learning from adversity.
Because I was just thinking, I mean, if you don't mind if I pick on the word
No, it's all right.
failings, I think if one uses that word as, you have a person who outwardly doesn't have a physical disability,
Hmm.
and then somebody that's struggling, well, struggling's the wrong word. Somebody who has, say, an accident and ends up needing to do things a little differently,
Yeah.
um, but it's not a failing. I'm thinking that the word failing in this case may be the wrong word,
Yeah, it
because
probably
then we're
is, but I just couldn't.
basing it on the.
I just couldn't think of any other word that would best explain it. But I think you get what I mean, though. By when I mean failing, it means that you're not, you're
You're not at where you were in the past,
no,
so you're basing yourself on something that isn't anymore.
yes,
So it's accepting this is the person I am,
yeah,
and it's not good or bad. It's just awesomeness, the
yeah,
person you are.
yeah.
Um, and to not base on
Adversity more than failings.
adversity
Yeah,
and how one sees something as adversity.
yeah,
I mean, if we were a world where there is access to people who couldn't walk up stairs the way certain people can,
hmm
and we had ramps, and it's gotten a lot better.
yeah,
But then, if the world had all those things, so it would be accessible to more of 90% of the population rather than the smaller group of population,
yeah.
we wouldn't see them as
No,
adversities because it wouldn't be there.
yeah.
I don't know. I'm going off. You can
No,
start
no, no,
talking.
no, no. You're quite right in what you're saying. I think there should be ramps everywhere and
Hmm.
stairs for nowhere. So because then obviously it's accessibility to everybody.
Yep.
But I do know that that's not always practical.
No, because we're looking at, I mean, England, good gosh, how
Yeah,
old are some of those buildings?
exactly. Yeah,
Ah.
yeah,
And I've been on some of those streets, which are, one-way streets, but they're two-way
yeah,
streets.
yeah,
And there's little areas where you can pull over
yeah.
to let the other car come along. So there isn't like that much space.
No, but
Uh,
we can't use where we live as an excuse, because obviously, you know as we grow as a person, the environment around us should be able to accommodate everybody's needs as well.
mhm.
By saying something is a what is it? What's the terminology in Britain? A listed building. Well, sh
What's a listed
a
building? Is
listed
that?
a listed building means that it's there for the heritage. You can't change its appearance.
Oh, okay.
So the exterior might have to stay the way it is, but that's just the facade. What you do inside, you can make it as accessible as any other building.
Hmm.
And the local councils are actually beginning to understand that, as especially as it's becoming sort of an aged population, that people with, getting old age are getting illnesses and disabilities, that we've got to start to accommodate all these different challenges.
Yep.
So it's more about educating society than anything.
Very true. Now, in archery, how would you describe what it's like to shoot an arrow? And this would be to someone who's never shot before.
To shoot an arrow, it's all about, like we were saying before, about getting into the moment, getting into that, you know, into that zone. It's just, for me, it's all about, I've done it for so many years. It just becomes one for me, and
Hmm.
it's all about, I've strived for perfection in my technique, and as soon as I have executed that shot, that it's on the right timing, I know I've been aiming it in the middle. You just know it's gonna hit that, it's gonna hit the X, and it's just believing in yourself. You just
Mm.
execute that shot, and it's as though you could almost close your eyes at that point, and the arrow's going to just hit that middle. And I know this. I sense this now when this happens, and I don't even need to look through the scope because I'm honed in on this so much now that I can judge, where my arrows are going to hit pretty much 99% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how, that's also how we train. I'll have an enabler behind me who'll be scoping my arrows, and I'll be predicting where the arrow is going to hit on my execution, and they'll write down where I've predicted it's going to hit, and they'll actually write down where it's actually hit. And it's, the amount of times that I get it pretty much right is about 99% of the time.
What distance?
All distances, but we as compounds now shoot 50 meters, but we shoot on obviously the five zone scoring, so it's just an 80 centimeter target. But and for me, sometimes I go back out to 70 meters because I used to like 70 meters so much that just to do it as a challenge, and even put an 80 centimeter face at 70 meters, because at the end of the day, the center of the target never moves. The center's always in the middle, and this is what you just got to remind yourself. It might be smaller, but you generally find if you shoot at something smaller, your group gets tighter.
Mm-hmm. And the center of the target is always the center of the target, no matter what distance.
Definitely.
John, I just want to say the time has just flown by, and you've been awesome to talk with.
Thanks, Lucy.
I would like to give you the last word. Do you have a pearl of wisdom or inspiration you'd like to leave with us?
I'd just like to say, archery for me has just opened so many doors, enabled me to go and see and meet so many people and see some great sights. And yet, for me, back in that frightful evening of 1989, if you'd have turned around to me and said, you're going to become Paralympic World European Champion, I would have laughed in your face. So, for me to find archery, it's just been a blessing, to be honest. So as soon as you get the opportunity to try my sport of archery, just give it a go.
John, thanks so much for being on the show. I so appreciate it. I know you're so busy.
Yeah.
All of the links, websites, and resources from this podcast will be posted on our website on the show notes, theflyingarcher.com. Yay!
Thanks, Lucy. I really appreciated that.
Hey, you're welcome. Hey, again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Anytime. And hopefully we can get to do this after I've been to Rio.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we didn't talk about Rio.
Never mind. We can always hit that. We can always hit that topic again.
Yeah. Oh, we should.
Yeah.
This is so awesome. I thank you so much.
No worries.
It must be like late now for you.
Yeah, it is, to be honest. But don't worry about that. I've really appreciated it and really enjoyed it.